All right, so what I'm going to go over is the difference between strength versus hypertrophy training. So hypertrophy training is muscle growth training. So training so that you're getting bigger muscles, whereas strength training is focused on being able to lift getting as strong as possible, being able to lift as much as possible. Okay, there is a big difference between the two if you are specifically trying to train one of them. So if you're trying to train for strength training, to be able to lift as much as possible, it's going to be a little bit different to if you were training for muscle growth. Okay. Now, one thing that I want to note is that for beginners, and that is anyone that's been training for, let's say, 12 months or so, less than 12 months consistently in the gym. Beginners, it doesn't matter what you do, just get yourself into the gym and consistently lift some weights. You're going to get muscle growth and you're going to get strength as well. It's called beginner strength. So just get in and get some work done with those weights and you will get some gains in all areas. So it's just a matter of getting in there and getting some work done. Okay, so when it comes to strength versus hypertrophy training, when we're training for one rather than the other, they're going to cause different adaptations. And that's what we want to be aiming for if we want to improve that specific thing. Okay, so the adaptations that come with strength training are predominantly nervous system. So you're going to be training the nervous system, you're going to be training the muscles no matter what you are doing when you're lifting weights, when you're doing everything, okay? But we want to specifically target an area so that you can optimize and get the most out of that training. So when it comes to strength training, we want to be targeting the nervous system as much as possible. This is your nervous system's ability to be able to switch on those muscles so that they can contract and switch on as many muscle fibers as possible so that you get as much force from those muscles as possible. Whereas if we're working for hypertrophy, so muscle growth, we want to be targeting more the muscles than the nervous system. So we want to be fatiguing and damaging the actual muscle so that it has something to grow from, okay? We cause those micro tears and everything else that causes those that muscle to grow, all right? That's what we want to be targeting, is more the other end with the muscle side of things. Okay, so you might notice, some people, you'll see some leaner type people, so a little bit on the skinny side, and for their size, someone can be really strong, all right? That is because their ability to switch on their muscles through their nervous system is really good, all right? Whereas you can also have on the other side, you can have really big people that have been training that muscle growth, like methods of training for a very long time. And yes, they are going to be very strong as well. But for the overall size, okay, a lot of the time, those guys aren't crazy strong. They are just really good at building that muscle because it's a little bit different. They are still going to be strong because muscle size will still build strength. But in comparison to someone that's just been doing strength training, just look at Olympic lifters that need to stay lean, all right? They are super strong, but they're not huge like bodybuilders, okay? So there's a big difference with the adaptation that we're trying to cause from this training. Okay, so with that being said, so we got strength, more the nervous system, and then we got hypertrophy, which is muscle growth. We're aiming for the muscles. So where there's two different drivers that we want to aim for that cause those adaptations. So with strength, the driver is intensity. So when I say intensity, that means the amount of weight you are actually lifting. So like just to give a little bit of a figure, you want to be aiming for about 85% of your max and above. So you're going to be lifting a low amount of reps, but very heavy weight. And that is going to be stressing the nervous system to be able to switch on those muscles and the amount of muscle fibers to be able to lift that weight more than stressing the actual muscle itself. It still is stressing the muscle, but we're more aiming for that nervous system side of things. Whereas when we're going for hypertrophy, it's the overall volume that is the driver. Okay, so Yes, we're still going to be putting a lot of effort when we are lifting, but the intensity is going to be a lot lower because we have to work with a bit higher of a rep range because we want to be stressing those muscles. We can't be lifting as much, even though the effort is still going to be, very close to max. The actual intensity, the actual amount of weight that you are lifting isn't going to be as much because you are lifting more reps and more overall sets through the week as well. Okay, so the feeling between the two is very different as well. So when we're training for strength and we're doing strength training, I like to define it as high strain. All right, so you are really straining to trying to get that weight up or whatever you're doing with your lift. Okay, whereas the hypertrophy training, that is high effort. Okay, think of the muscle pump, the muscle burn. It hurts lifting in those higher rep ranges. All right, so when we're going strength, it is high strain, the ability to strain as much as possible to lift that weight, whereas hypertrophy is more effort based. It's more the burn, the pump, and everything that you get with that. Okay, so with strength training as well, you're not going to have you still can, and especially if it's new to you as well, but you're not going to have as much DOM, so delayed onset muscle soreness, the next day, right? You're gonna still feel pretty good. It still is a high fatigue thing because it's fatiguing your central nervous system rather than the muscle themselves, but you're still, you won't get as much DOMs the next day. Whereas hypertrophy training, we are aiming for at least a little bit of DOMs, okay? Working between, a 3 and 5 out of 10 sort of thing. So the hypertrophy training will cause DOMs the next day, and it should be causing DOMs the next day just because we're stressing that muscle in a different way. All right. So the intensity and volume difference between the two, just as a bit of a guideline. So when we're working strength, we're working, like I said, 85% and above of your maximum weight that you can lift for one rep. And we're working between 1 and 5 reps. You could go out, 6 and 7, but just the gold standard sort of thing is between 1 and 5 reps. And you're going to be lifting. And like I said, the driver is the intensity. So you need to be lifting those heavy weights, right? Whereas if we're working with hypertrophy, the rep range that you can be working with is a big rep range. You can be working anywhere from 5, which is the top end of that strength range, to reps of 20. It doesn't really matter what you're working with in there. Either end is going to create a lot of fatigue. So you want to sort of work in the mid-range, but between 5 and 20 reps, it doesn't matter, just as long as you are working with an effort for your sets of around about an 8 or 9 out of 10. So that means at the end of each set, you should be finishing with 1 to 2 reps left in the tank. Okay, you're not going complete failure, but very close. So like I said, the overall volume is the driver for your hypertrophy. So over the week is where the gains come from, building up enough volume. So you need to be working, like I said, that 5 to 20 reps, but per muscle group per week, you want to be hitting that muscle group with around about 10 to 20 total sets through the week. And you're aiming for about 2 workouts per muscle group each week. So you might do 5 sets on the Monday of chest, and you might do 5 sets on the Thursday of chest, and work in between those 5 and 20 reps. Okay, so that just outlines a quick overview of the difference between training strength versus hypertrophy. So just a quick recap and main points of that is strength training, more nervous system, and the intensity is the driver force. So we're lifting as much weight as possible between that 1 and 5 reps. Whereas hypertrophy, we're working more the muscle, and we are trying to create some sort of damage there. Well, not so much damage, which there will be a little bit of delayed onset muscle soreness, and the volume, the overall volume for the week is the driver force. And we want to be working in around about the 8 to 20 reps, okay? And each set should be around about the 8 to 9 out of 10 effort level. All right, guys, hopefully that gives you a better understanding of the difference between strength and hypertrophy training. Let me know if you've got any questions.